and welcome to the Art of Abundance podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Leisa Peterson, and today I'm introducing you to a very special guest. This is part 2 of our conversation, Lincoln, Channel for Higher Self. And I dive into conversation that was deeply affecting for me. I'm so excited to be able to share it with you. And again, this is part 2. Enjoy.
Sometimes when I first say, like, I have these natural abilities, people get afraid because, what is it? And oh my gosh, can he like take advantage of me? Can he control my mind? Am I like a zombie? No, it's not like that at all. It's just that I'm more perceptive of how we're all connected. If you're having a bad day, I can feel that. And my mind has awakened to a way that if I chose to, I could look into that and get more information about it. But something else is interesting. When I work with someone, if they don't want me to see something, I can't see it.
Yes.
Yeah. If they don't trust me, their mind puts a wall up because they can do that. And I can't get through that wall. I'm not trying to get through that wall. But I know in order for me to help them, they need to drop that wall of resistance. And you've probably seen that in your own coaching sessions, right? People will display body language even. They'll turn their body away. They'll get uncomfortable. They'll start evading eye contact, because you're touching into something that they don't trust you yet seeing.
Yes.
And you know that you have to earn their trust.
Yes.
And then when they're ready to open up this vulnerable area, now you can come into that place, connect there, and say, this is what I see. This is how I think I can help. Here's the emotion. Maybe I'm going to be comforting. Maybe I'll offer you condolences. I'll do something emotionally and mentally and even maybe physically to help them once they allow me to see that part of themselves that's wounded and needs to be healed.
And that, I'm curious, we're all on these journeys. There are these times, when I meet with you, there's this unfolding. When we help each other, how do we know that we're not doing something that they're not ready for? I mean, I do kind of know the answer to this, but I feel like it's helpful because there are these times where you're like, wait a minute, that's not the intention.
Yeah. And you really hit the nail on the head. It's the intention that causes our interaction. If you are holding the intention to help somebody, that's the beginning of your creative process with them. That's going to determine how you're communicating emotionally, verbally, right, mentally. Your intention is that deepest creative place within you. So what you hold as your intention then carries forward the rest of your action. Now, sometimes when we're talking with someone, we begin with the intention to heal them or to help them, right? But then we're working in the session and then they say something that connects with a different understanding we have, and we feel our energy shift. Maybe the person said, maybe they're talking about a trauma they've had, and we've had a similar trauma. Now we've stepped out of, in the present moment, we've stepped out of that intention to be that healer, that coach, right? And now we are resonating with the pain body or with the trauma inside us. So now we're in a different vibrational place. In that place, we're going to now communicate things that are influenced by that trauma.
Yes.
Okay? So now we're not on that pure trajectory anymore. We've altered it. Now, another good example is if somebody still has like pride, right? And they're a good coach and they're going to do the best job. I'm going to heal you. I'm going to help you. They come in maybe with the pure intentions, right? They just want to support and be loving. But somewhere in the session, it becomes about me now. It's about me doing my job, looking good, being effective. And then they may start to push for progress. And they're no longer able to witness the sign where the patient's mind, body, and emotions are saying, wait, we can't go there yet. It's not safe for me yet. And the therapist with their prideful self says, I'm going to do it. I'm going to fix them. I'm going to heal them. And they try to push through it, and then they cause more harm.
Totally.
So we have to be really aware of where we're at. And something to help you practically, because as you know with my videos, we always have to make it practical. Otherwise, it stays out here and it doesn't get embodied. When you're working with someone, be aware of how you're feeling, right? Because your emotions, the feeling you have in your body, are telling you what your deeper understanding is, what your intention is. A lot of people think the thoughts are the mind, but the thoughts are actually like the echo of the emotion, right? What you're feeling determines how you think. A lot of people try and work with this backwards. They think, I'm going to tell myself how to feel, and we know it doesn't work. Right? You can't convince your mind to feel a certain way, right? Because there's a deeper understanding that happens before emotion. That's that association. That's the intention. That's the pride example, right? Or the trauma example. There's an understanding that's like silent. We can't hear it, but if we're aware of how we feel, we can address the understanding that is causing the feeling, because the feeling is the voice of the deeper understanding inside our mind.
And I'll add one more dimension to it, because so much of my work is around the practical experience of money. Mm-hmm. So I get asked a lot of questions. So now you get to ask this question, is that, so what you described before, people are doing their jobs, they're in this position where they have to make money, and they're also being in service. And people get really tripped up when you bring the other dimension of money, earning money through this activity. What suggestions do you have for that?
Well, first, I think we have to start at the foundation of it all. And that is that in our mind somewhere, we've separated out these things and labeled them as different, right? So we're calling different forms of the oneness of the universe different things, and we've created that separation in our mind's concepts. So I think we have to start by removing that idea of separation. Otherwise, it's like fighting a losing battle or swimming upstream. It's not going to work very effectively. We're always going to feel that internal resistance because we haven't started at the beginning. So we start at the beginning with ideas that everything is one. Okay, there's no fundamental difference between money or the food on my plate, right? That's very easy to understand because we use money to buy the food our body needs, right? There's no difference also between money as a physical currency and emotions as a feeling-based energy currency, right? Okay. We can also extend this and say everything the body does, right? Eat, sleep, exercise, procreate, all of those are no different fundamentally, right? They manifest in different feelings, different sensations, different places, colors, all these things, yes. But fundamentally, it's all the same consciousness creating it. It's all the same substance. Okay, so money looks a certain way, feels a certain way, tastes a certain way if you try to lick it or eat it. It's going to feel different than happiness. It's going to feel different than information in the mind. It's going to feel different than our consciousness. But fundamentally, it's all the same. It's oneness, it's God, it's self, whatever we want to call it, it's the same. If we can start there, we start to remove that distancing and that resistance that we've placed into these different areas of our life. So that's like the final idea we want to get to for enlightenment, right? Everything is one. So why not start there? Right? It makes sense to me, right? Build the right foundation, right? If the home's not standing, you don't try to repair the roof and hang weights from the roof to balance the home, right? Build at the foundation. Go to as deep as you're able to understand or access and try to build there. That's why a lot of my videos, they use simple mantra or affirmation practices. And you want to make sure you're connecting with yourself. So it'll often say, look in a mirror or close your eyes and feel the emotional energy inside your body. And depending upon what we're saying, we're going to feel the location where those emotions are felt. Because all the chakras are locations where we feel emotion. Okay, so they're generators of frequency, of feeling inside our body, but each location is associated with a certain aspect of the human personality, right? So we feel fear in a different place than we feel happiness, right? We feel the power of our expression, our confidence in a different place than we feel our nurturing energy. Right? They'll feel different as emotions. We'll feel them in the space of our awareness. But if we zero in on where it's starting, we'll feel them generating at a chakra place. And that's all it is. Chakras are the emotional centers. And people often bring to it all these new age things, which I don't always think is accurate because we're depersonalizing the experience. We're saying it's not about what you feel inside yourself. It's about an idea and concepts. So use these shapes and wheels and, bring lightning bolts or swords in. And it's like, get in the body. What's the body doing? That's what the original teachers discovered. It's in your body. So get to know your body and you realize, wow, these systems are using examples of gods and goddesses and all these examples from legends and myths, but they're actually trying to explain my emotional system and how my mind works. Okay.
It's beautiful.
So I want to get back to one more piece to help a person like with the money karma when they're trying to work through it. So we start with that idea of oneness, right? But then there's so much more to it because that idea is not going to replace our experience. Right? We hope it does, right? We hope meditation is going to cure everything. One affirmation is going to solve the world's problems, but it doesn't because life's more complex than that. It's like building a house. You build a good foundation, but you also have to build, maybe replace the walls, the windows, the doors, right? Okay. So when we have this understanding, right, like everything is one, there's a feeling to it, right? There's a peace that comes over us. When we have a different understanding in that present moment, our mind has a thought, our emotions change. There's a different understanding, and that may be, I don't like money, right? Emotions shift. We're now in a different vibrational reality. We're holding a different vibration inside our expression. So if we act from that feeling, if we speak from that place of not liking money, because maybe money represents something bad that happened to us. Maybe we struggled as a family to have food on our table and that was difficult, whatever it is, right? If we're in that energy and we now express from it, we're now creating with those ideas as the silent foundation of our vibration. Right? We're going to say things different, act differently because we're in that vibration, in our own emotions and in our mind. So what we have to learn how to do is recognize, oh, I shifted, and shift back. Right? It's all it is, right? Shift back to, I call it the heart center, where we feel that oneness, because in the spiritual heart is that understanding that everything is one, right? Because that's what happiness is. We can break it down. If we're looking for happiness, we have to identify, what is it? Right? How do I know when I'm happy? Right? So investigate it. Be the detective in your own reality. Try to solve these mysteries, right? Well, who are you? What's happening here? And we find, wow, it actually comes from my own heart. At first, I might think, well, he makes me happy, or money makes me happy, right? Or unhappy. Sometimes our partners or, our finances make us unhappy too. We have to discover, well, what's really going on here? And if we trace all these steps back, we realize, wow, it's an understanding I'm holding that's generating a feeling inside of me. Okay. And if I can shift myself back to the feelings I want and the understanding I want and try to stay in that place, it's difficult. Try to stay in that place when you're triggered, when you're angry about money because you hate how the world is, right? Come back into your heart and do your best to try to then act or speak from that place. And you may find your voice doesn't work. You may find your throat closes up because it's hard to speak that new understanding. It's hard to create a new truth. Right? Because your mind has all these reasons that says, no, that's wrong. It's wrong that everything is love because I remember being hurt. I remember being lied to. I remember all these things. And so we're going to feel that emotional resistance because our brain has a memory. So now we have the impression of the world stored in the brain and nervous system and our soul coming in and saying, no, the soul knows everything's love, everything's God. I'm sure of it. I've looked at it, I've investigated it, and I want to live it. And the brain says, well, wait a minute, that's different than what has been. Our memory says it's different. And so we just keep practicing, bringing through that experience that we want, connecting into it. In the most difficult times in your life, try to connect back into that place that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel connected, that makes you feel supported by the universe, that makes you feel empowered in yourself. It's really that shift that does all the difference. Because on a non-physical level, as a quantum physics level, we're now changing the energy, the actual frequencies of it's non-physical energy, it's etheric energy. I don't think quantum physics has a name for it, or I don't know it, but it's like we're changing the frequencies of light. We're changing these vibrations that are going to create then what manifests in the physical. It's actually a vibration of mental energy. And it changes the etheric energy that then changes the energy of the chakra system, the emotions, and the earth, water, fire, air elements in the world. So it's the chakra system working.
So I have two last questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
One is bringing the practical into this with money. So what I've seen in my own experience is that if we can create this vibration of love and be operating with money in that way, and then the action that we take with money helps us to take care of ourselves, take care of our loved ones, make a difference in the world perhaps, because there are causes that we now have money to donate in, all these things, that it's like the money becomes the practice to keep the cycle continuing to go. Yeah. It gives us the practical daily application.
Sure. Yeah. You need a form in the world to connect with in order to create here. And you need a body in order to do things here. You need external forms in order to do things here. Without the physical forms, you can't be a creator. And so, yeah, make money your spiritual partner. Right? Go on a dance with money, right? Money does this, money does that in the world and in your mind, and your consciousness is trying to move with it and shape it and direct it to have a pleasant experience. Right? Make anything your partner, because that's ultimately what God is doing. Right? God consciousness, this eternal intelligence beyond everything, shines into reality and creates a structure of forms. And as human beings, we feel our consciousness is separate than the form. But we also see that our consciousness creates into the forms and shifts and changes them. Maybe that's why our soul was created, to be creators with the forms of God's universe. And everything about life is about the forms. This is another misunderstanding of spirituality, I feel, because people want to get away from the forms. There's this whole idea that forms are duality and they're causing suffering. You got to get to the oneness experience, or you got to go somewhere else. Like, have you read the ancient people? Because they're not really saying that. And these are the smart guys. We're still learning here. It's like they left these gems of wisdom and we're trying to figure out what were they doing. And so when we look at our experience, we're empty. You have no form as that deep awareness. Right? That's where we began our conversation with the TM and the meditation. You have nothing. You just are open, empty space. But in order for you to know you exist, there has to be a form that you become aware of. And then that form becomes something you interact with to maintain your awareness that I exist. Right? If you would imagine, like when you fall asleep at night, you lose awareness of all the forms of the world and all the forms of your mind. Well, guess what else happens? You're no longer aware that you exist. But you do still exist. Your consciousness, you never died. You just became unaware of the forms of life. So that enlightenment experience of trying to get away from the forms, it's like going to sleep forever. Right? And that's one side of the universe. It's like half of a coin. Right? And the other side is being with the forms. And when we're with the forms, we're supposed to be realizing our oneness with the forms. That's what's challenging us, but that's what also allows us to have the beauty of our experience, because now we can experience and explore ourselves as creators and all the opportunities we have and every possibility we've ever dreamed of. So we have to come into the forms. And a lot of times we have these blocks, again, because of the trauma of the world. I'm so glad you brought that up to begin with, because it's really that trauma on all our levels that say, avoid, disconnect, don't go there. But these are parts of our life, and they're going to maintain themselves as parts of our lives until we leave this world. There's going to be mental illness that causes acts of violence that we can't logically understand. There's going to be suffering and pain. There's going to be the loss of loved ones. We can try to avoid it our whole lives, and some people do, and they can find happiness that way. But some people want for more. Some people realize that even avoiding it, it's still there. I can still feel it. I can't ignore it completely. Also, when we try to ignore things, we see them coming into other parts of our life. You've known that from the work you do. And sometimes we have a big, big problem with something here, and now it starts affecting my job or my family, and it's not related to it. There's even a simple example. You have a job you don't like, and then you come home and you can't enjoy your family. your health starts to deteriorate. Something you want to put away and forget about, it still influences all the other parts of yourself. So God's saying, like, come into it because you can change it. You've been given the power to change it. And that's a big lesson also, because we have difficulty understanding just how powerful we are. Because again, we were conditioned in the world to think certain ways about ourselves. And we were brought up in school systems to feel inferior, to say, don't learn, right? Don't actually learn how your mind works. Don't understand things. Don't think for yourself. Just memorize. Do exactly what we tell you to do and repeat back to us what we've said. Right? And people who have good memory and good recollection, they become top students. But society doesn't change because of those types of qualities. Society changed from the ones who are outlaws. Right? They're the creative ones, the ones who push the barriers. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, many of us are. If when we want to, even just exploring spirituality, it's an outlaw thing. It's like, you can't do that. Like, it's against religion. It's against society. Society will break down if you start to do these things. It's like a lot of mind-altering practices and substances, and even teachers have been outlawed and banned. Right? There's been spiritual teachers, even the example of Jesus and Buddha was one, and modern day teachers. When they start to free people's minds, they become, an enemy of these systems. And it's simply because the people in the systems are still conditioned to uphold the systems. It's like the people in the systems won't go there. And so anyone who does go there becomes different than who I am. And therefore they feel that distance. It becomes unsafe. And then we become maybe aggressive towards them, or there's some action that can happen. And we're really just exploring greater parts of ourselves.
This is so good. Do you have time for the one more question?
Oh, we can talk a lot longer than this. Yeah, we can talk for another hour if you like.
I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am that you are sharing all of this with us. And I know that you talk in your videos about abundance, and I'll share that when I first started listening to you talk about abundance, I wasn't ready to totally hear it because I had a block in the fact that I didn't understand how much scarcity was my conditioning, my way of being. And it was through this journey of starting my company and helping people that started to break it open. And I remember several distinct moments where I realized how much scarcity had been holding me in this self-induced prison, for many of the reasons you've already described. But at some point, as that dropped away, as I see it, abundance is our natural state of being. Mm-hmm. I had to drop the cloak of scarcity. But going back to you, it's like you did talk, and you do talk about abundance. And I'm wondering if you could share some of that with us.
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, scarcity is a real thing, okay? Mm-hmm. But it's not real. It's not an experience your soul is having, right? Your soul is that unlimited empowered creator. And guess what? Your soul can bring that unlimited power into the world and change the forms in any way your soul wants. The scarcity, right, is just the limitation of time and space that happens in the physical reality, right? It's like, for example, you want to build a home. Okay, well, right now your home doesn't exist. It's a scarce resource. But if you go through the process of creating, right, you're going to get all the supplies. The universe is going to bring you everything you need. And through time and using the forms in space, you're going to be able to build your home. Right? And so you'll have it. You'll have created in time and space something that didn't exist, and you'll made it into reality. Scarcity, in my understanding, just means it's not here right now in my life, right? Abundance is a way of thinking. It's the energy of the universe is abundant, but the material world does have limitations. And we work inside this limited system, but the system itself's not bad or wrong. And the reason why I feel it's important to share this is some people are fighting against their own ideas when their mind has evidence for those ideas they're fighting against. Remember the trauma example. the brain says, well, this is real in the world. And the soul's saying, well, I'm learning this, or I believe this, and I want to bring it into the world to realize it, to make it real for myself. And now there's this conflict because the brain says there is scarcity. I can look around the world and I can look at all these examples. There's people starving. I don't always get what I want. I can't snap my fingers and something appears. There is scarcity. And the spiritual mind says, well, this teacher told me that they can manifest anything. And my favorite are these gurus who, do magic tricks and pull things out of their sleeves and show you golden coins. Right? It's like, you can watch them on video. There's something in their sleeve. Right? And people believe, wow, they just manifested it. It's like, it is possible. Honestly, I have had experiences where things have manifested physically that are unexplainable. And people have had it as well. Things appear in their house. There is this reality, but most human beings cannot do it. And the ones that are showing it off on display in order to gain public recognition, they're usually not doing it. But I've witnessed things that are inexplainable, and that's the only way I know they're real is because I witnessed them. And I investigated them enough to have confidence for me. And I also accept that, maybe my conclusion's wrong. I accept that. I'm still learning. I don't have a perfect mind, but at least I'm engaging in the process of learning. At least I'm trying to understand reality. And that's what I feel is important. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about learning. It's about saying yes to life. It's about creating, because that's when we truly realize, make real more of what is. Okay. So the first place to start is don't create a fight with your own mind. Don't say something's not there that your mind knows has been there. Okay, because otherwise we're going to get tripped up at the first level. So say, yes, you know what? It's okay. I do have fear. I do have doubt. I do have scarcity consciousness. And you know what? It's fine because there's evidence of it. And that's why I think this way. There's other human beings holding this reality, right? And I have been part of that shared reality. So it is here. I'm going to let that be there. And now I'm going to explore who I am. How can I, as this unlimited potential, come into this limited physical universe and change it to make it be how I want it to be? How can I realize that I am the unlimited, abundant, creative being? Right? That's what we're here to realize, not the world. Right? It's not the physical forms that we're trying to understand are unlimited in their abundance. We're going to use those forms because that's the only way we can understand who we are as unlimited God consciousness. Right? So abundance is actually an exploration of God's creative power, that unlimited power that we have also been given within ourselves in a smaller way, because we're still awakening into who we really are as this oneness with God consciousness. So let the forms be scarce. Don't fight with them. Don't battle with them. Don't battle with your mind. And realize, okay, how can I then improve upon my understanding? How can I improve upon my life? How can I realize that I'm that free will being that can think anything, act in any way within the limitations of my body? I can't fly 1,000 feet up in the air. My body can't do that because of the laws of gravity and physical reality, right? But I can actually take my body up there if I use my mind to create a flying device that follows these laws of the physical reality. I can build a rocket ship. Now, technically, I took my body 1,000 feet into the air, right? But I did it by using my creativity and my abundance to really forward the physical reality that has these limitations.